Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Bibliophile Doctorate. I'm so happy that you are here and I am here with my first reading review and experience video. Don't worry, I'll try to keep it as much spoiler free as possible so you can fully enjoy the book if you choose to pick this up. So the book that I'm talking about today is The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny. This is the latest novel by author Kiran Desai, and this book is a bit more special to me because this was my this year's birthday gift given by a very special friend and person to me. As you can see, this is a very thick book and I definitely took my own sweet time to go through this and think about the experience of the book. Make sure you stick till the end because while reading this book I came across a very sweet Easter egg that Kiran Desai has put in this book, and I can't wait to share that with you. To give you a quick idea about what this book or this story is all, the story follows two characters, Sunny and Sonia. These are the two people who come from a privileged background in India, and they have moved over to the States for their education, for their work, and they are kind of moving through their lives, through their experience and their relationship. The whole story starts moving when Sonia kind of complains about feeling lonely to her parents, and from there we watch these two characters, Sunny and Sonia, navigate through this novel, eventually meeting each other. What I really loved about the book is how it captures the Indian diaspora. It dives into the everyday complexities and the subtle disconnect that happens when you move abroad. You have a certain life form, and when you call back your parents and you connect with the life back, and there is a certain bit of disconnect or distance or a certain difference. There is a moment where Desai uses Sunny to point out to a fact that how, as when we were growing up, and even today we find among the kids who are growing up, we find a focus on learning the language English too well, and at the expense sometimes of our own mother tongue. And don't get me wrong, that learning English, having an excellent grip on it, is absolutely important in our workplace, in our international scenario. But if that is there, at the same time knowing your own language and knowing the nuances of that language and feeling more connected to the culture is as important as grasping a good grasp on the English language. Desai also brings in the point of magical realism both in the plot, as you will find when you read it, as well as a concept. So this magical realism part she explores through Sonia's eyes when Sonia is trying to write about her first academic story or the first work of her fiction, and she is actually kind of pondering over this area of magical realism, and that opens up a really interesting thought in Sonia's mind about how the West sees the magical realism through an Oriental lens. Another one of the best point of this book is how it navigates the women and their experience with marital life and their singlehood. In one point in the book, Desai draws an amazing parallel between Sonia and her mother. So towards the beginning of the book, Sonia gets involved with a character named Ilan, and it's a very toxic relationship, and she is struggling to come out of it, out of the fear that if she comes out she would be left alone and their loneliness will again take over. On the contrast, in the exact next chapter on the same timeline, Desai shows her mother who actually realizes the truth about her marriage and kind of takes refuge in her maiden maternal home. The best part about the book being this thick, I know a lot of people might get scared about the thickness, but it has advantage. It actually allows the character the breathing space, the space to grow and to understand the backdrop and why a character is behaving in a certain way in a better manner. Each of the side characters, be it Sonia or Sunny's parents, their grandparents, their aunt Meena Foy, or Sunny's friend, or minor characters, are given a space to breathe, to have a little bit of backdrop into themselves, and so it becomes easier to understand and go in a much more easier flow with the unfolding of the story. Having said that, but I have to also mention that this is one part which annoyed me a bit, because this is the title said it's the loneliness of Sonia and Sunny, and because these other characters are also getting their story, which is good in one way, but taking so much of space at time felt like it's kind of shifting the focus from these two main characters to this other form, like their parents' story or their grandparents' story, which in itself can be another novel if Desai comes up with it. But that is what I felt in that particular portion. That much of detail might not have been needed for this story. So that was my overall thought on this book, Sonia and Sunny by Kiran Desai. I have a few more thoughts, but maybe I'll come up with another video. And now for the Easter egg that I promised in the beginning. So as I was saying early in the beginning, was Sonia was actually experimenting with her thoughts on magical realism, because she had to write this novel or the story for her coursework, and she was actually thinking about plot where a man actually getting annoyed with life goes up and stays on the tree, and he stays with a lot of monkeys, and the people around kind of mistakes him or considers him as some sort of a holy baba or a sage, and try and becomes almost like his followers, and somehow the man gets enmeshed with these monkeys. So if you're a fan of Kiran Desai and you have read all a novel, you will know that this is the exact plot of her first novel or a debut novel, Hula Balu in the Guava Orchard, and it seems such a sweet Easter egg to put in another of your novel. So that was it for today. I would love to hear what you thought. If you have read this book or you would like to read this book, let me know in the comments. If you have read this book, and if you have read this, whether you have noticed this Easter egg. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and listening to my first review and book experience video. If you have liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and stick around, and I'll see you in the next video.